Sometimes, even if you are above board in all of your behaviors, you may still find yourself in the middle of a criminal investigation. And so it's very important for you to memorize the following telltale signs of becoming a suspect that Roland and I are going to share with you. Number one, if for some reason you receive a message, a phone call, or a strange email from a person you once had some kind of relationship with in the past, and that person is accusing you of misconduct, be immediately suspicious that the person has reported you to police and is now trying to drum up some sort of sexual accusation against you.
Yes. Number two, if the police contact you to talk to you about any kind of allegation, don't talk to the police. They are not your friends. You are a suspect. In fact, you're suspect number one, and the police officer will be trying to do everything they can to put the handcuffs on you, to get you to incriminate yourself. The best advice in that situation, if the police officers do contact you, is to say, before I talk to you, I really think I need to talk to an attorney, just to make sure. And then contact an attorney. Use a professional. Use their advice.
Rule number three, never, ever, ever apologize for something you did not do, because legally, your apology may be treated as an adoptive admission. Even if you have done absolutely nothing wrong, and you've been above board and extremely careful with how you interact with others, you could still become a suspect in a pending criminal investigation. So it's extremely important that if you suddenly get that text message, get that phone call, or another form of communication accusing you of something that you know you have not done, you must not apologize for it, and it is critical that you immediately disengage from any further communications with that source, that you immediately have alarm bells go off and you contact an experienced criminal defense attorney.
Absolutely.
Because chances are the person on the other end trying to communicate with you is actually a police officer, or a police officer standing next to somebody who just made an allegation against you. And what they're trying to do is incriminate you, trying to get you to admit to something you didn't do, and trying to build a case around you being the suspect.
Once again, even if you're meeting with that person in person, they could have a wire on them. They could be tape recording the conversation. They could be prompted by police officers. Anything that comes out of the blue that's sudden, that you're unaware of, be wary and suspicious about that, because 90% of the time, that somebody on the other end is controlled by a police officer, and you absolutely do not want to speak to the police. That would be a big mistake, wouldn't it, William?
Absolutely. Even if you're fully innocent. And you know, Roland, just listening to you talk about that, my mind is immediately flooded with memories of many, many cases that you and I have had, where it was shocking to me, especially earlier on in my career, the extent to which police officers will go in order to psychologically pressure a suspect to admit or to apologize to something they didn't do. I mean, we had one case in particular, you might recall that a few years ago, where our client was accused by his former stepchild, who contacted him out of the blue, decades after the fact, and started saying things like, I've been talking to a therapist, I'm suicidal, I want to kill myself, I need to get closure for all of the things that you have done to me. And then our client was just feeling really awful, completely lost, afraid to disengage for fear of what that person might do to themselves. And so they made a mistake, and they started saying things like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about that. And then, of course, later that predictably played out as a form of confession.
Yeah.
And then you had a case a while ago where someone used a different take on this. The police officers got them to talk about hypnosis and how supposedly during their hypnosis session, these memories were somehow revealed, and they showed your client committing these, heinous acts. So the length or depths of creativity to which police officers will go to try and trick someone into admitting something that they may not have done, it's really quite breathtaking, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, it's just amazing what they'll say and what they'll do to get somebody to admit anything. And we do know in California that under law, a complaining witness, if believed, is enough evidence without additional corroboration. But often the district attorneys want more. They want something else. The police officers know this. Jurors want to hear something else. Even though they are allowed to convict on the testimony in sex cases of only one witness, they want something else. The only way they're 99% of the time going to get that is when they get a confession.
All right.
And more often than not, those confessions are in the form of some kind of apology when the person on the other end is lying to you about being suicidal or cries about how hurt they are and how many people hear it. And even if they've not done anything wrong, they feel compelled to say, I'm sorry, to comfort them, which is, of course, what the officers are after. The only proper answer that anybody should ever give is, I don't know what you're talking about, and I suggest you get counseling. There's nothing else to do. And then you hang up or disengage and report this to the best lawyer you can find.
I agree. If a police officer suddenly calls you and invites you for an interview, you may be shocked to hear that somebody wants to talk to you about some sort of sexual misconduct that you know you weren't involved in. And so it's human nature that you want to find out what it's about. You want to go there and explain yourself. Don't do that. Do not accept a meeting with a police officer. They're not there to figure out what happened. They're not there to help you. There's no way you're going to talk your way out of getting arrested or charged with a crime, even if you have done nothing wrong. The best solution that you have and the best chance of success down the road that you have is to immediately hire the most experienced criminal defense attorney with experience in defending sex cases and decline any opportunity for the police officers to interview you, to trick you, or extract any kind of confession, admission, or an apology, and protect yourself at all times to stay out of trouble.
Yes, that pretty much goes to our general rule about police contact. William, should you ever talk to the police?
Not unless you want to stay out of trouble every single day of the week.